This morning I'm letting you into a very well kept trade secret. As you know, members of the Bunny Guinness's Gardening Club have access to a lot of my suppliers from my little back book. Trees, plants, furniture, pots, they're all coming in. We're adding a new one each week. This week we're adding seeds, and they are a wholesale company, but they will also supply private individuals. They're called mole seeds, and I've been using them probably for 30, 40 years, something like that. And I use them because they're very competitively priced. They are obviously very good quality. Anyone who supplies a trade, particularly with seeds, you've got to have really good germination rates, because if you're supplying someone who makes their living out of growing cucumbers and you sell them a load of dud seeds, you're not going to stay in business. So they have very high germination rates, and they also give you the backup service. Not only that, they're wonderful value. So although you have to have a minimum order of £12.50, you can actually get 6% discount off that as well, providing you put your order in before the end of November. So I'm going to get cracking shortly. And also, if you pay online directly, then you get 3%. So you get 3% for ordering by credit or debit card online, and another 3% if you order before the end of November. So that's pretty good, because the prices are very reasonable anyway. And although you might think because they're wholesale, they just sell big packs of seeds, but they don't. For instance, they've got the lettuces that they've got many varieties of cut and come lettuce and other lettuces. But they've got one that I use a lot, which I love, the cut leaves, the young baby leaves. And they've got 2.5 grams of seed, which gives you something like 2,500 seeds. So that does me easily for a year, and maybe next year as well. Or if you want to buy smaller quantities still, then obviously you can team up with friends, or you can have it with your local gardening club or whoever. But the variety is phenomenal, because they've been going for so long and they supply so many businesses. Something like tomatoes, they've got over 70 different varieties of tomatoes. They do lawn seeds, they do a huge range of vegetable seeds, whether organic or whether they're pelleted or whether they're non. They do a massive range of perennial seeds, of hardy annuals, tender plants, everything. So you've got such a whopping variety. And I think you can just see if you come and look at the catalogue now. So there's the catalogue. 75 years they've been going. Well, I haven't been going that long. But you can see what they do: varieties of viola, pansies, sweet peas, sunflowers, perennials, wildflower mixtures, sort of mixes of flowers for wild areas that aren't all native, and loads of different vegetables and things. In order to order for them, you join them online. So you open, it's very quick. It took me about 1 minute or something to join online, and then you can see all the range online. You don't have to have a hard catalogue, obviously. And then they also have very good information sheets. So, and that will give you the data, the number of seeds per packet, how you should grow them, cultural tips, information about them, and the strengths of that particular variety. So each type has one of those, and that is really useful, I think, because obviously when you buy packets of seed from a retail, they're tiny little packets, and there's very limited amount of information you can actually get on there. And also, when you're providing technical information for growers, like they are on their information sheets, it's got to be spot on. You know, I think a lot of the stuff that you get on other packets is a bit varied. It's so general, it's not worthwhile. So I find them really good. And if you want to join and get use of their seeds, it's well worth doing. And just tell your friends about them as well, because they are really good. Obviously, when you're growing plants and you're a keen gardener, you'll want to save a lot of seed yourself. So I've got some lovely black tomatoes in the greenhouse, and I'm going to save those seeds. Things like runner beans, French beans, it's often worth saving them if you can. And then you've got very fresh seed. And some people believe that, say you grow runner beans and then you just save the seeds from the very best runner beans in your garden, then you'll save them. If you do that year after year after year, you get your own strain of seed, which does particularly well in your garden. So a lot of keen vegetable growers do that, and they just save seed from year to year, selecting the very best plants that do so well in their specific conditions. Now, if you're growing an F1 seed, obviously all the plants come out genetically uniform from that, and then the seed from those F1 seeds come out completely different. So I wouldn't bother usually to save seed from an F1 seed, but for any other I do. And I think it's fun to do, and it's fun to develop your own strains that do really well. Anyway, I talked to Jason Breed. He kindly came over here. He brought me some seeds, which was jolly nice of him. I've got a packet of them somewhere here. He told me a bit about the company. He had been working in vegetables all his life. He's a very keen gardener, and he gave me lots of great little tips. So here's just a snippet of that conversation. But before we go on to that, here are the seeds. So no flashy colour picture on the front. They're just a very good packet with a resealable top. And obviously when you open a seed, if you're not going to use them all the first year, then you want to save them, you want to keep them within the foil packet, so they're airtight, as it were. And I usually keep them in the fridge or a cool place, something like that. And some of their seeds are treated, and they tell you if they are, and a lot aren't. Some of them are in pellet form. And these are petunias. And you see they're little coated seeds, so they're much easier to sow like that. And it tells you it's 100 seeds, it tells you exactly what it is. Then you go onto the website and you'll see the cultural conditions, what you need to grow those well, and there you are. And so much of good gardening, I think, is cracking how to grow from seed really well. We have so many queries about people with seed failures. A lot of it, I think, is because they bought bad seed in the first place. So many times if I bought seed online, you don't get what you've asked for. It's completely different from on the packet. Go for a reliable firm like Moles, and you'll find you get far better results. Anyway, over to Jason. Do you have a better germination success rate than retailers who maybe packets of seed have been on the shelves for months?
With all things in this world, you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
So you'll have seeds in packets. There's a particular ratio. You have everything from top grade seed, which we supply to most to growers, to hobbyists, to people who just want a guaranteed good plant, or there's a variety they've seen out there which they love, or they've trialed, or they just want to try something different. They'll buy that seed because they know it's a commercial grade. That commercial grade, of course, we're supplying it to people who make their living from it. So we've got to guarantee that that's going to give them their living. So that seed, we try and guarantee a minimum of 80% germination. There are a few which are lower than that, but then in the industry, sometimes when we get a seed which there's been an issue with the germination, sometimes some of the breeders out there will do what is known as overfill, and they'll send more seed to compensate the issue on there.
Well, we get it from you, we've opened the packet. What is the best way for us to store seed to keep it healthy?
The best way is, if you're not using all that seed, is make sure it's somewhere cool and dry.
Fridge with a desiccant in a Tupperware box?
Yeah, Tupperware box, something like that can work.
Desiccant bit.
I've got growers who have an old 1950s Smeg fridge, which was probably his grandmother's, which he has sitting in his office. Warms his office at the same time.
Yeah.
We then have
I might do that actually. Get an old fridge.
Again, if you've got, if you like, where on my property, the owner moved the garage a bit, connects it to the property, put a new room on top of it, and the coolest part of the house is actually in that garage, right at the corner. Nice, cool, dry area. In an old cupboard at top shelf. That is the ideal place where I keep all my seed.
Lovely.
Like I say though, if you've got something which is open, as a company, I normally say if you've opened it and there's not much in it, chuck it and start again. But right. that is.
But you are selling seeds.
I am selling seeds, but I find that sometimes the guys I'm dealing with, they don't have that capability, or they have the capability, but they sometimes can't take that risk that seed they've stored is going to come up like it did the previous year.
But I'm not doing it for a living. I'm just doing it to feed myself, so I can be a little bit more lenient.
What I would suggest, if you've got seed that's stored, is do what we do. Get a little Petri dish or a little.
Oh, and do a trial.
Do a trial.
Yeah.
I wish more people would do this. I've got a sweet corn grower who we supply a humongous amount of sweet corn to up in North Norfolk, and he literally is one of the few people I deal with who will send me germination tests up until he puts that into his field.
Lovely. So all you do is get a petri dish or a saucer with a bit of blotting paper or kitchen towel.
Casual, or a bit of seed compost, and do it that way.
And you do it on compost,
Yep.
and then you'll just put in 10 seeds, water it and watch it
See what comes up. If 9 come up, you got 90%.
Yeah.
If 10 come up, you got
Lovely.
100%.
That's
So
a
again,
nice
it's an
tip.
easy way
Yeah.
of working it out. Areas where mice, rodents can get into a shed, into a garage, into the house.
Steel wool.
Put coarse steel wool in there. I can
Right.
guarantee the mice won't ever come in.
Right. And then I loved your tip about chilies.
Chilies again. I always find if you sow chilies in January, February when you're doing tomatoes, the plants take forever to get growing. So I normally will suggest, and a lot of my chili growers will actually have their seed delivered in November, December, and they'll start sowing them before Christmas. So they'll literally get them in
Good idea.
early on. Obviously, they'll pile up the heat in the greenhouse, get them growing. So they've got a good sized plant ready to then sell to their customers or to grow on to give fruition on fruit.
Lovely idea. And then the other thing of flower seeds. So what flower seeds could I be sowing now? A lot of the hardy annuals are much better, aren't they, sown?
A lot of hardy annuals you can
autumn.
put down, direct sow now. So some people will be putting them down. Again, a lot of perennials. If you want to grow, a lot of perennial growers will now be buying they'll would have purchased some of them. Some of them may even be already growing, but they'll grow a lot of their perennials, get them sowing on, because again, if they're not wanting to have their greenhouses on full bore or want to cut down on heating, they'll grow the perennials in their cold greenhouses, grow them on, get them into it's like a 9 centimetre pot, grow them on, keep them just as a small plant, and then around about February as the weather warms, they then take those plants, put them into a 3 litre pot, and away they go. That's when, few weeks later, you then see them in your garden centre being sold for £6-7. So if you want,
satisfying.
so satisfying the fact that how quick some plants will soon give you a full plant.
And for so little, and you can then plant a decent drifts, none of this, one of this, because they're £7.50 at the garden centre.
Exactly. So if you can grow them from seed yourself and grow them on. Well, something else, as you were saying on the sowing here, like you just had the page there, the sweet peas. Again, that's something else which, if you're growing sweet peas for cut flour and for showing, a lot of those guys will be sowing their seed now, ready for getting a good enough hardy plant, which will give you a good strong flower. The one thing with peas and with sweet peas, I always find the best thing with those is to soak them.
And you
overnight.
just soak them in water?
Soak them in lukewarm water overnight, and then sow them the following morning.
Interesting.
Because again, I find you get a much better germination rate. Normally with any form of the pea family, you can normally take probably minimum of 7 days before you're going to see anything sprouting through there. But when they do, they all come up.
So I hope you found that useful. And if you want to subscribe to our membership, then obviously you'll get many more deals coming up over the months. Wholesale, reliable, good suppliers that I've been using for years. And shortly we're going to be holding our new first online Q&A session, question and answer on Zoom with me, any gardening questions, whatever. So please email me at the address below, submit your questions, and we'll see how long they'll take to answer, but we'll maybe do 3 or 12 at a sitting, depending on the complexity of the answer. Anyway, hope to hear from you.